Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to go over the MLB for Tuesday, September 10th. And as you can see, the opening odds are on the screen. Colorado and Detroit are to start. And without further ado, let's get started. As you can see, Colorado opens at plus 141 currently. Detroit is at negative 167, minus 167. And currently it is plus 144. Minus 172, not far off from where we opened. And we're going to focus on the higher cost because those are the ones that are most influential when it comes to the bookies, when it comes to how the sportsbooks make their profits, things like that. So there's negative 152 for the underdog Rockies on the spread. On the run line, we're going to focus on that. The over 8.5 is at minus 104. Under 8.5 is at minus 118. And we're going to go over where the money is going. Where is the money going in this one? Detroit is favored at minus 172 on the ML. Currently, they're getting 98% of the money. Colorado only getting 2%. Now, of course, that's going to change throughout the day when the sharps go in and everybody else starts betting a little bit more, putting more into it before the opening pitch. But yeah, 77% going with Colorado. Yeah, Colorado is getting 77% of the money. On the run line at that minus 152, more than likely that will hold up. But the only way I'd go with Detroit in this game is if the odds stay the same at this high over 90% of the money, or if they increase. If they continue to increase as minus 172 turns into, let's say, minus 180, minus 185, cool. Detroit is safe on the ML. But I would definitely go with Colorado on the run line in this one due to such a high cost, especially if that cost continues to increase. If this cost continues to increase, you're safe, or stay the same. We go below that minus 150, that's when we start having concerns, especially if this 77% holds up or goes higher. The under is getting 85%. I would join the public going with the under in that one. Next game, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, plus 124 for the Rays, minus 147 for the Phillies. Opening, currently it is at plus 138 for Tampa Bay, minus 164 for the Phillies currently. We started at so Philadelphia went up in value. Both went up in value in their respective directions, more so for the Phillies. Let's see, the run line is at minus 154 for the Rays, similar to the last game. Only 1% going with that in this one. 99% going with the Phillies. The only way I would pick the Tampa Bay on this run line is minus 154, getting only 2%. The only way I would go with them is if this cost right here decreases. If this cost right here decreases, if it increases, this plus 128. If this cost increases, then I would go with the Rays on the run line as well as the ML. But as it stands, I'm going with the Phillies across the board, despite them getting 99% here. I'm still going with the Phillies right here because when the sharps go in, this is going to change. They're not going to stay at this 1% all day. Definitely going to head toward about 15% at the least. But yeah, I would stick with the Phillies across the board in this one. Only if this stays the same, I would go with Tampa Bay. But as it stands, future projections of what people are going to do, the bookies, the sharps, all that, I'm going with the Phillies. Over under 7.5. Minus 114 for the over, minus 106 for the under. I am also joining the public at that 98%, going over. I'm joining the public in that one. All right, Miami versus Pittsburgh, plus 120 opening from Miami, minus 143 for Pittsburgh currently. And let's see, plus 126 for Miami. So to go from plus 120 to plus 126, Miami goes from minus 143 to minus 148 currently. So Miami went up. They both went up in their respective directions, 6 and 5. Minus 172, high cost for the Miami Marlins in this one. Over under is dead even at minus 110 cost at 9. And let's see where the money is going. 96% in favor of Pittsburgh on the run line in this one. I would not advise that due to this high cost. It's plus 142. That is a lot of money to pay out if that comes to fruition with this high 96 percentile going with the Pirates. Only 44% going with them on the money line, though. This minus 148, and they're not at that minus 150 sweet spot. 56% going here. So I would go with Miami across the board to open this one. This minus 172 is definitely going to outweigh the cost they're going to pay for this, the plus 126. Minus 172 is a high, very high cost. Under getting 80% of the bets. I am in this one, let's say 80% going with the under. 9 cost minus 110. I am joining the public in that one as well. I'm going with the under. Going with the under in that one. The over does seem a little more intriguing, though. The over does seem a little more intriguing, but I'm going to stick with I'll join the public. I'll stick with my guns in that one. All right. Atlanta versus Washington. Plus 161 for the Braves. Plus 135. Well, minus 161, excuse me, for the Braves. Plus 135 for Washington. Let's see where the odds are now. Minus 162. Not far off from 161. Plus 136. And that they both have gone up 1 in their respective directions. All right, let's see where the money is going in this one. 59% going with Atlanta on the run line. 91% going with them on the ML. They have increased just by 1, though. There's minus 162. They are above that minus 150, that sweet spot. But that plus 102 is intriguing. Those hit quite often. That plus 102 on the run line in baseball at 59%. Not a high payout there. Minus 122 with only 41%. That's still a high enough percentage. 91% going with Atlanta. Over under is even at 8 minus 110 cost. 62% going under. I am going with the over. I'm fading the public on the total. I am joining the public on the money line, but I'm fading them on the run line. I'm going with the minus 122 Nationals on the run line, but I'm going with the Braves on the ML. Right now, these are just my picks right now. My final picks will be on my Patreon later today when I see how the odds analyze as they go throughout the day. As we go throughout the day. Kansas City versus New York. Let me scroll down. Plus 129 for Kansas City, minus 154 for the New York Yankees. Plus 126, currently minus 148. Yankees have gone down in value. And plus 126, they have gone down as well. So both have gone down in their respective directions. 99% going with the Yankees. Pretty much been like that with the Yankees over the past month and a half or so. Very, very, very massive favorites on the splits, on the run line and the ML. They went below that minus 150, and that's what worries me. That they're now at minus 148, even though they started at minus 154. That's what bothers me more than anything. But with Kansas City getting only 1% currently in that plus 126 from that plus 129, and are at minus 162, they are over that minus 150 sweet spot on the run line. I am going with the underdog across the board in this one. I am going to take the risk and go with the underdog on the ML and the run line as well. More than likely, I'm going with Kansas City in that one. Over under at 8.5. Over is getting the higher cost at minus 112. Under is getting the minus 108. 82% going with the under in that one. I am actually fading the public. I'm going with the over. I'm going minus 112 in that one currently as it stands. All right. New York Mets versus the Toronto Blue Jays, minus 120 opening for the Mets, plus 102 for Toronto. They have gone up. The Mets have gone up on the ML, minus 130 and plus 110. Both have gone up in their respective directions, and minus 142 cost for the underdog Blue Jays. Let's see where the money is going. All right, 77% going with the Mets on the ML, 99% going with the Mets on the run line. The only way I'm going with, I'm going with the Blue Jays on the run line simply because this is going to change. This 99%. They're not going to stay 1% of the money for very long. That is going to change. And if you see this cost hover around at minus 135 onto where it's at minus 142 currently, the run line for the Blue Jays, or if you see it go up, Blue Jays are definitely going to win this game. Going to win the run line, going to win the spread in this one. Now the ML, 77% going with the Mets currently. I would join the public in this one. I would join them on this one only because they have gone up in cost. Minus 120 opening, now they're at minus 130. And they're getting 77% of the money. The only way I would not go with the Mets in this one is if they dip below that. If they dip below about 70%. If they start dipping below that 70% and the cost either stays the same on the money line or decreases, I would go with Toronto. As it stays the way it is, I would join the public and go with the Mets, fade them on the run line. Over under is at minus 112. Well, it's at 8, minus 112 cost. And as you can see, their cost just went up. Went up again. Went from 144 to 146. Just like that. 144. This is all in real time. 144 to 146. 142 to 144 to 146 in a matter of seconds. Minus 104 for Baltimore. So they pretty much went where Boston opened. Minus 114. So they dipped. So they basically just flipped. This is basically a pick'em game. Boston Red Sox at that minus 166 cost looks very intriguing in this one. Also, that under getting that higher cost at minus 118 versus minus 104 for the over at 9.5. But let's see where the money is going. Over is getting 81%. 81% of the money. But where this minus 104 at that 81% is very, very, very intriguing as it stands. The only way I would go with the under is if it increases. If it heads towards that 35%, then I would join the under. As it stands, I'm joining the public on the over. I'm joining the public at that 81% at that minus 104 cost. They would make more money off of, the bookies would make more money off of that than they would the under at that minus 118 getting less than 20%. 55% going with 55% going with the Red Sox on the money line, 76% going with the Orioles on the run line. I am fading the public in that case. I'm going with Boston. In this one, I'm going with Boston across the board here. That's not a coincidence. They flipped. That 104 flipped from Red Sox to Baltimore, and that minus 166 cost right there. And as you can see, Toronto continues to go up in cost right here. They're now at over that minus 150 sweet spot. But yeah, and minus 166 is intriguing in that one. Keep an eye on that. Could head toward minus 170. All right, LA, where are we at? All right, Cleveland versus Chicago White Sox. All right, we'll start with that. Minus 222 for Cleveland, plus 183 for Chicago. And yeah, where are they now? Minus 220 to plus 184. So this one went up in its respective direction. This one went down in its respective direction. And yeah, let's see where. What is minus 142 for the favorites at that cost? Let's see where the money is going. Cleveland 98%, Cleveland 83%. And that cost has increased for Chicago White Sox. I am going with Cleveland across the board in this one, the run line and the ML, just the way it looks right now. Of course, my picks are on my Patreon. They could change throughout the day. This is still early in the day, but as it stands, the way the odds are going, I am going with Cleveland across the board in this one. Under is getting minus 120 cost. Over is getting minus 102 cost. Let's see where it's going now. 76%. Yeah, 76% going over. Under getting 24% at that minus 120 costs. I'm going with the under. I'm fading the public. I'm going with the under. 24% at minus 120 of the money is more significant than minus 102 at 76%. As it currently stands, I'm going with the under. All right. LA Angels versus Minnesota. LA Angels versus Minnesota. Plus 255 for the Angels. Minus 312 for Minnesota. Okay, there we are. Okay. Plus 205. Minus 250. I was starting to wonder, did they put the odds on? But plus 205 for the Angels. Minus 250 for the Twins. They opened at plus 255. Minus 312. So both have decreased significantly from where they started. But let's see where the money is going. The minus 114, not a significant advantage for the public or the bookies in this one, but it depends on where the percentage of the money is going. Over under is even at 8, minus 110 cost. 98% going with the Twins and 100% going with the Twins on the ML. 100% going with the Twins, 98% going with the Twins on the run line. All right. They went down from 312 to minus 250. That's not a significant thing because that's just opening odds. But it is a large amount. It's a large amount, and it's tough to ignore that. With the Twins getting so much of the money and they went down so significantly, I'm going with the Angels. I'm fading the public. I'm fading the public across the board in that one. I'm fading the public in that one. And that plus 205 is, this looks like this could be a money game for you. The plus 205 right there. And also the over 8. I'm joining the public in that one. I'm going with the over 8. I'm joining the public in that one. All right, Cincinnati versus St. Louis. The odds have just changed for them. As you just saw in real time, plus 110 for Cincinnati, minus 130 for St. Louis. Plus 110, minus 130. Odds have not changed, but this has minus 200 for the underdog Reds, plus 164 for St. Louis. Where is the money going? 57% in favor of St. Louis on the run line of that plus 164. 96% in favor of them on the ML. 96% of them in favor of them on the ML. All right. Only 4% going here. That plus 110. Let's see. The minus 200 is too enticing. I am going to go with Cincinnati on the run line. I'm going with Cincinnati on the run line in that one. That 43% at minus 200, that is a huge payout for the bookies. But I'm going with St. Louis. I'm going with St. Louis on the ML. I'm going with St. Louis on the ML in that one. Now, over under is at 8. Where is the money going? 82%, just like the last one, 82% going over at that even minus 110. I am joining the public there. I would join the public there. Oakland versus Houston, plus 156 to minus 185. All right, plus 154 to minus 184. Plus 154 to minus 184. Both have decreased just slightly in their respective directions. The minus 132 for the underdog Oakland Athletics is something we need to take note of. All right, 98% in favor of Houston in this one. On the run line, 99% on the ML. And Houston is a sizable favorite on the ML at that minus 184, despite going down a few points. Of course, that's going to change. They're not going to stay at 99% of the money. 98% of the money going with Houston early over Oakland. Minus 132 for Oakland. Based off of this scale here, minus 132, minus 184. All right. This minus 132 based off of only 2% of the bets, but that plus 110 is not a significant amount to really just fade Houston in this case. With that being said, I would go with the Astros across the board. I would go with the Astros across the board and go with the under 8.5. All right, Texas versus Arizona. Plus 139 opening to minus 164 for Arizona opening. Plus 164, minus 164 for Arizona opening, plus 138 for Texas opening. They are now at plus 124 to minus 146. Both have decreased in their respective directions. But what's pointing out is this over 150 sweet spot for the favorites at plus 152 on the run line. Minus 184. So you will make your money on the spreads or lose your money on the spreads in this game, pretty much. 99% going with Arizona, 99% going with Arizona on the ML and the run line. Only 1% going with Texas. The minus 184 is such a high cost for them to ignore. The only way I would go with Arizona across the board in this one, the only way is if this goes above that 150, minus 150 sweet spot. That is it. I would go with them here on the run line and here on the ML. But as it stands, I'm going with Texas across the board as it stands, and that minus 132 is just too much to ignore at that over 7.5. That is too much to ignore, and they don't put costs that high on totals unless it's going to happen. Just keep that in mind. All right. All right. San Diego versus Seattle. All right. Milwaukee, San Francisco did not have a. They didn't have an opening, but. Oh well. San Diego versus Seattle. Minus 114 to minus 104. And currently it is minus 116 to minus 102. Currently. Minus 192 for Seattle. Minus 192 for Seattle currently on the run line. That is a huge amount. Let's see where the money is going. 33% at that minus 192. I am fading the public here. I'm going with Seattle on the run line as an underdog. As far as the ML, minus 116 currently for San Diego. They slightly went up. 92% going with the Padres in this one. 92%. And this is basically another one of those pick'em type games, a borderline pick'em type game. I am joining the public on the ML though. I am joining the public on the ML at that minus 116. San Diego over under minus 105 to minus 115. Over under is at 7. Over is getting 100%. I am actually I am actually, if that 100% stands, you got to pick the under at that minus 115. But where would they make their money is here on the over. So I'm joining the public going over at that minus 105 sweet spot for totals. All right. We're going to go to the Chicago versus LA Dodgers. Plus 126 to minus 149 for the Dodgers. Plus 126 for the Cubs. Plus 134 currently. They've gone up. Minus 158 for the Dodgers. And they started at minus 149. Both have gone up in their respective directions. Minus 162 cost for the Cubs on the run line. Over at 8.5, under at 8.5, minus 128. Going with the cost on the under. The under, I am fading the public at that 44%. I'm going with the under on that one. Minus 158 is the cost for them here. They have gone up in value. And I am going with the Cubs on the run line and the Dodgers on the ML. The Cubs on the run line and the Dodgers on the ML in this one. So, yeah, we will go with, that's how we're going to do. Minus 158, 149 turns into minus 158. So, at plus 126 as well. So, yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. That is MLB for the day. If you want my last final picks, they are on the Patreon just before the start of the first game, which is a little bit okay. So they're all later today. They go earlier later in the week. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. And yeah, you guys take care. I've been Scott. Pray every day. Join the Patreon. See you in the next video.